All right, YouTube, welcome. My name is Rashad, and this is the Dirty Garage. Today, I'm going to be installing these wave rotors by Galfer on my 2014 V-Rod muscle. So stay tuned. Let's see how it gets done. All right, let's get the legal out of the way. Next, you're going to see the tools you're going to need. Go ahead and take a screenshot so you know what tools to have before starting the job. Galfer recommends using their brake pads with their rotors. So let's do a quick brake job. First, let's loosen the brake fluid reservoir, then go down to the caliper. Let's remove the bottom caliper bolt, then let's go ahead and remove the shield from the caliper. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen the top caliper bolt, but not remove it yet. We're going to go ahead and remove the brake pad retaining bolt pin. Then you're going to use a 5mm Allen key to remove the brake pad retaining bolt. Alright, so now we're going to remove the top caliper bolt. Make sure we're supporting the caliper so it doesn't fall. Alright, so now we want to compress the pistons in the caliper. So let's go ahead and take a pry bar or a screwdriver and go ahead and pry the pistons open. So we're not going to reuse these pads, so go ahead and just pry them open. They should slide right out. So then we're going to install our Galfer pads. Yep. So put the bottom in first, and then just push the part with the retaining bolt in second. After both pads are in, we're going to go ahead and reinstall our retaining bolt. We're going to tighten this down, but we'll tighten it to spec later. Then we're going to go ahead and reinstall our retaining bolt pin. Don't reinstall the caliper. Get a bungee to support it. Then you can take your pry bar and put it on the left side of your wheel. Take your 24mm socket and let's go ahead and loosen the axle. After your axle is loosened, let's get our T50 and remove the axle clamp bolt. Take a picture of your spacer and your ABS so you know how they're aligned. Then let's get a mallet and gently tap the axle out. Make sure you support the wheel as you're pulling the axle out. Now onto the rotor. Get your T40 Torx and go ahead and remove the rotor. When all the bolts are removed, out with the old and in with the new. You're going to install the Galfer rotors with the laser etched labels facing outwards. We're going to reinstall the bolts, hand tighten them first. When we tighten them down, we're going to tighten them down in a star pattern. So make sure we hand tighten these because you don't want to cross thread them. Once they're hand tightened, let's ratchet them down. Remember to ratchet in a star pattern. We could torque them to spec later. It's very important to tighten in a star pattern. Just make sure that it's installed evenly. We can torque them to spec later, and I'll put the torque specs in the description. Then there we are, beautiful. Now let's get this bad boy installed. So I included this part just to show you how the axle should be placed in. The axle goes in, then there's a spacer, the wheel in the middle, then there's an ABS. Once it's all the way through, there's gonna be a washer, then the axle nut. All right, now let's go ahead and get it installed. So I didn't remove the other caliper, but you can if you want to. I just gingerly put the wheel back on, slid the rotor into the caliper, and then began putting the axle through. So this may be easy to do with two people, but it's not impossible to do by yourself. So I put the axle through, then I put the spacer through the axle. Then I lifted the wheel up to get the axle through the wheel. Once I got it started, I just jiggled it through and it kind of slid right through. Then once I got it far enough, I took the ABS, put it in position, and then continued to push the axle through. Once the axle was through, I put the washer in the nut and I tightened it down. And that's it. Reinstalled the caliper, torqued everything to spec. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more V-Rod upgrade videos.